Hey there humans, Bob here with another Marvel Avengers video. Today I'm going to be sharing with you an incredible discovery that was initially made by Mr. Red from my community, who has shared this hidden update to Hulkbuster that dropped with 2.5. That has enabled me to create this frankly insane build. Don't forget to like and subscribe as we roll that intro. So, what exactly is this update? Well, it turns out that even after the flurry of updates to Hulkbuster that came with the 2.4 update, the devs aren't done. For those of you who are interested in seeing all the updates that came with 2.4, like payloads and status damage and more working with Hulkbuster, go and check that out here or by using the link in the description down below. But that's not why you're here. You want to know what this hidden update is and how to make this build. Well, I've got some news for you. It seems like with the 2.5 update, Hulkbuster can inherit all of your perks. For those of you who don't know what that means, basically they just made Hulkbuster even more OP than they did in the previous update. It would appear that any burst or bust that's including damage buff that massively boosts your damage output, or even empowerment, which means that you can literally have an infinite Hulkbuster, now work when using the ultimate heroic. Here's the list of the items that I've been able to test so far. Faultless. Any melee critical attacks can proc perks. Targeted. Any ranged critical attacks can proc perks. Reactive. Any hits received whilst in Hulkbuster can proc perks. Berserker. Landing 16 hits without taking damage can proc perks. Rampage. Defeating 3 enemies can also proc perks. On top of all of this, Hulkbuster now appears to be able to pick up orbs, which includes intrinsic ones, which means if you have the skill selected that gives you an intrinsic orb on takedowns, you'll have one of the easiest attack loops ever to keep the big fella going indefinitely. At the point of making this video, I'm unsure if these changes are intentional or not, but for now I encourage all of you that enjoy playing as Iron Man to test out as much as you can and play around with how Hulkbuster now works in different environments. As for now though, let me share the build that I'm using to be able to truly take advantage of this. Just to clarify though, I'll be going over the changes I've made to my existing Prime build rather than doing a whole brand new video here though. To see my existing build, go check it out here or check out the links in the description down below. What I'll also do here is go over the sections like I usually would in my other builds. Let's get into it. So, first of all, stats. No major changes here. I want to make sure that my Iron Man still works well in combat, even when outside of Hulkbuster. If you want to check out how Hulkbuster scales, by the way, on stats, make sure you check out my other Hulkbuster video that I mentioned earlier. Next, onto skills. Since speciality skills outside of the ultimate heroic section don't have any effect on Hulkbuster, we're only going to focus on the mastery tree. And the only real change I'm making here is going to be swapping from the heroic takedown mastery to the intrinsic takedown mastery. The reasoning around this is that I already have the disruption pulse skill selected for the ultimate heroic. When using this move, you send out a pulse that instantly puts enemies caught in the radius into a takedown state, even enemies like adaptoids. What that means is if you're ever in trouble in a fight or you're about to run out of energy with Hulkbuster, just use the pulse, then perform a takedown to replace the energy. Now, let's talk gear. I've made a couple of changes to my Prime build. First of all, I switched my melee to this piece, which is honestly a literal god roll that I just had sitting in my inventory, like it was waiting for this update to happen. The reason this piece is so good, even ignoring the epic stat roll, is that for probably the first time ever, all the perks are working towards the thing that I need. The Vibranium status on the light combos and especially signature attacks means that I can quickly apply the status to multiple enemies at once. Coupled with the first perk, Lethal Vibranium Conduit, I can actually self-proc the Sonic Conduit buff that actually gives me a burst of intrinsic energy that will in turn keep me in Hulkbuster for longer. On top of all of that, the RNG gods saw it fit to also give me a 20% buff to Hulkbuster damage too. Literally, mwah. If you're looking to farm this piece though, you'll need to head into the Elite Raid to grab it. For my range slot, I will keep my existing piece as it already applies Sonic status, which provides intrinsic energy to power Hulkbuster, and pinpoint vibranium payloads that will feed back into the lethal vibranium conduit perk from slot 1. This is all in all a perfect piece, so no need to change it. Onto the defensive slot now, and I have kept my reactive buff piece as I wanted to take advantage of that buff where I can, but if you're struggling to stay in Hulkbuster, then maybe consider a piece that has reactive empowerment instead. It's incredibly useful when trying to stay in the ultimate and effectively makes you invincible for longer. For the heroic slot, I've stayed with this piece, which is my old 2.3 slot 4, so if you're newer to the game, maybe consider this piece instead that rolls with a Hulkbuster damage boost and a crit boost for all weapons. You might even be able to get the third perk to roll an intrinsic burst too. No changes to any of my artifacts, but remember a lot of the payload and conduit perks can drop from raid minor artifacts, so consider those if you're missing some of the perks that I've already shown in this build. Now we've covered all of that, let's give you a little preview how it fares in the Size 8 Exo and Adaptoid's brutal harm room. There you go then. Although still a little slow on the DPS, we've proved that with this new update, the Iron Man is indeed invincible, at least with the right gear. Speaking of gear, if you want to see my latest Prime build for the newest character of the game, Jane Foster, or my Iron Man Prime build, check out these videos on the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, stay safe, stay awesome, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.